Hi! In my latest video I showed a way to make a function to check if two rectangles are colliding with each other. In this video we will look at using that function to stop a walking character to walk through walls. When the character reaches a wall, it will be stopped from moving forward by the function. First, we will create a sprite with the walls on it. It could have been just a background image, but in this case I have made the floor as the background and the walls as a sprite. That is not really important for the function, that is just the way I did it. I have made it easy for myself by having the walls always built on rectangles parallel to the sides of the scene. It makes it possible for me to, in the code, define the walls as boxes represented by an array with 4 values and to add those arrays to an array. This will make it possible for me to work through each of the boxes to see if there is a collision. This image is just an illustration to make the concept clearer. This image has no use in the game. In the previous video, the 4 values was X and Y position and width and height. This is most practical when you have a moving hitbox. The walls are not moving, so for those boxes it's more practical to use the position coordinates for 2 diagonally placed corners, X1, Y1 and X2, Y2. This means that we will have to adjust the function from the earlier video slightly. For the walking character we will have a hitbox at the character's feet. In this case I place the origin point at the feet of the walking character. I'll have a link in the description below to earlier videos on how to create walking characters. I'm not going into anything about that in this video. I often like to resize the character depending on how far away from the camera the character is supposed to be to give an illusion of depth. In this case, however, the camera follows the character, so it is always the same distance from the camera. The hitbox surrounds the origin point, going out to about the character's body width, to the left and to the right. A few pixels below the feet and a bit more above the origin point. The purpose is to stop before the character hits walls on the left, right or bottom. At the top, however, the character will overlap the wall until about when the feet reaches the wall. This will give the feeling of the character being in a 3D space. The parts of the walls where this could happen could be painted as walls to help the illusion. Here I will keep all of the walls black. Another thing that could be done is to have the bottom overlap the character's bottom half of the body, also to add the 3D space feeling, but I will not do that in this case. So we need a function to check for collisions between a hitbox with X, Y and width and height, and another hitbox with X1, Y1, X2 and Y2. Here I have made a function based on the function from the earlier video that does this. In the game loop we will have a for statement that will iterate through the wall boxes and check for a hit with the character's hitbox. If we get a hit, the character is moved back to its previous position and the iteration stops. This all happens within the same game loop. So, we need to know the character's previous position. ct.js that I'm using here have functions for this, but we can also do that easily ourselves. At the end of the game loop we set the x values to the present position. In the next loop, the character's x and y values will be updated and then we will check for the collision. If the character has moved, the present and the x positions will now be different. We know where the character was in the previous loop. One thing we want to make certain is that the character really is moved to a point where the hitboxes do not collide. Otherwise, the next x value will be a point where we have a collision. To lessen the risk that this happens, we move the character 2 times the distance between the present and the x values. Okay, this should make it possible to walk with the character through different rooms and corridors in a labyrinth. And, well, that will be all for this video. So, for now, bye. Hope to see you again.